Taiwanese kindergartners allegedly drugged by teachers. The scandal rocks a presidential hopeful. Donald Trump faces another indictment, this time with more serious charges. Taiwan's Acer said it would stop selling to Russia, but data suggests sales there were worth millions last year. And the government pours cold water on a petition calling for a 4-day work week. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Leslie Liao. The scandal over the alleged drugging of kindergarten children has gone political. That's as students, parents, and politicians criticize what they say was officials' slow response. John Van Trieste has the latest.
These students in New Taipei are protesting an appearance by City Mayor Hou Yu-ih. They say his presidential ambitions have led him to ignore a scandal that's shaken the country. 17 parents suspect their children were drugged at this New Taipei kindergarten. So far, tests have found barbiturates in the systems of at least 8 children. Barbiturates are a class of prescription drug that includes some kinds of sleeping pills. Police have questioned the school's head and 7 teachers, and the school has lost its license. Mayor Hou Yu-ih has taken time off the campaign trail for January's election to apologize.
我在这里为保护孩子们不够周全，深深地给大家致歉。
But some parents are still angry at how the city has handled the case. They say they noticed their children acting strangely months ago. One anonymous parent says they called the authorities in April. The city says it never received the call and only heard of the case in mid-May. Whatever the case, these parents say officials waited until Monday to begin drug testing, weeks after it knew about the allegations. Parents also say officials have failed to make reasonable arrangements for their children's future.
他们目前安置方法就是南亚分校，怎么可能在他孩子上？但是只有这选项哎。
Adding to the controversy, other politicians have weighed in. Premier Chen Jianren says Hou needs to be more proactive after a delayed response. And Hou's presidential rival, Ko Wen-je, also criticized the speed of the official reaction. As the criminal investigation continues, the scandal is taking on a political dimension. Andy Xue and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's wave of sexual harassment allegations continues to grow. Among the latest to share their stories is the mayor of Taiwan's second biggest city. Once again, as John Van Trieste reports, officials are promising to get tough on culprits.
In a city council meeting on Thursday, Lu Xiuyan, the mayor of Taichung in central Taiwan, shared her story of sexual harassment. She said she's faced unwanted and inappropriate touching throughout her political career.
那你就看到有一些色狼，他在跟你拍照，表面上是跟你并列，手却摸在你的屁股上。我当立委时候碰过，我在当市长的时候都碰过。
Lu is the latest in a string of women coming forward and urging others to be brave and stand up to harassment. A wave of cases has shown a tolerance for harassment in fields like politics, academia, and the arts. These include the case of a fire chief who allegedly secretly filmed inside a dorm for female firefighters. As more stories come out, demand for change grows.
在这样子的事件一再发生的情况之下，应该要检讨性骚扰事件的处置流程，以及增加这个实体的性平课程。
Officials say they're listening. President Tsai Ing-wen has ordered a review of laws and the handling of complaints. Taiwan's 2 main parties say they'll propose changes to the Sexual Harassment Prevention Act. And the cabinet says it wants to make sure coming forward makes a difference.
第一个是明定性骚扰的指引，第二个是建立更健全、有效与可信赖的申诉制度。
While it's unclear what exactly will be done, what is becoming clear is that more and more Taiwanese women have decided the time for being silent is over. James Lin and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Writer and translator Lucifer II has apologized after he was accused of making unwanted advances towards a Taipei city councilor. Zhong Peijun says Chu forcibly kissed her last summer. Zhong says she is not the only woman that Chu has harassed. Chu had previously appeared on TV to speak out against harassment. He has responded by saying he is aware he did wrong and will accept all consequences. Chu is known in Taiwan as the Chinese translator of Western fantasy literature such as Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has been indicted for his handling of government documents after he left office in 2021. This makes him the first former president in U.S. history to face federal criminal charges. Hou Yu-ih has the details.
It was an incident never seen before in the United States. In August last year, federal investigators raided a former president's place of residence. They seized more than 100 documents with classification markings from his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida. And now the speculation around special counsel Jack Smith's investigation is at an end. Donald Trump has been indicted on federal charges. He is the first former president in U.S. history to be charged at the federal level. The details of the charges have not yet been released to the public, but according to Trump's lawyers, he faces 7 counts, including violating the Espionage Act and conspiracy to obstruct.
The walls around former President Trump are closing in from a legal perspective. These are very serious charges, and they're also the kind of charges that if the federal prosecutors and the Department of Justice are bringing them, as they clearly now are likely to be particularly easy to prove.
This is Trump's second and more serious indictment. The first was on state charges related to hush money payments to an adult film actress, Stormy Daniels. Trump responded to the latest indictment on his social media platform, Truth Social.
It's election interference at the highest level. There's never been anything like what's happened. I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person.
To counter accusations of political meddling or bias, the Justice Department under Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed a special counsel to oversee the investigation. Adding complexity to the case, Trump remains the frontrunner for the Republican nomination in next year's presidential election. While the political fallout from the latest indictment has yet to be seen, he faces no legal barrier to running again for the nation's highest office.
Does it mean that he can't run for president? No. We live in a country where, in the United States, rightly or wrongly, a convicted felon, even if he's convicted, can be elected president. He could even, in theory, serve as president while incarcerated.
Trump is due to appear in a federal court in Miami on Tuesday next week. In addition to these charges, the former president faces 2 other criminal probes. One focuses on the attack on the U.S. Capitol in January 2021. The other is looking at whether he attempted to interfere with the 2020 election results in the state of Georgia. A decision in the Georgia case is expected as early as the end of next month. Yisun Chen and Hou Yu-ih for TaiwanPlus.
U.S. President Joe Biden and British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak have agreed to strengthen a historical security alliance between their two countries. The leaders announced a new economic partnership in Washington, D.C. on Thursday called the Atlantic Declaration. Though not a free trade deal, the pact would see the U.S. and U.K. work together in areas like clean energy, information sharing during crises, and advanced technologies. This includes artificial intelligence and the safe uses of it.
We're doing more to prevent technologies that are invented and developed in our countries from being used for military or intelligence purposes by countries that do not share our values.
Taiwan's foreign minister will reportedly make a trip to Europe next week in a visit that could include a diplomatic breakthrough. The Reuters news agency says Joseph Wu will visit Brussels and Prague and make a rare appearance with the Czech president at a security conference. European leaders do not usually share the stage with senior Taiwanese officials because of pressure from Beijing. China claims sovereignty over Taiwan and condemns any form of contact between Taiwanese and foreign officials. TaiwanPlus reached out to the foreign ministry, which said it had no comment on the report. Taiwanese computer maker Acer has shipped over $70 million worth of hardware to Russia since saying it would suspend its business there last April. That's according to a Reuters report which cited sources close to the matter. The shipments were made through an apparent loophole in Taiwan's sanctions against Russia following its invasion of Ukraine. Acer sent PC monitors and laptops through a subsidiary it owns in Switzerland. Swiss sanctions also did not bar these items at the time of export. The company's actions contrast with its Western competitors like Dell and HP, which have stopped all business in Russia. Responding to TaiwanPlus on Friday, Acer said they follow international trade laws and regulations, but many of their shipments had been delayed because of the war in Ukraine and the COVID-19 pandemic. For more on the implications of Acer's continued business with Russia, our reporter Joyce Zeng spoke with John Eastwood, a partner at law firm Iger and expert in corporate compliance.
How does the revelation about Acer impact Taiwan's solidarity with Western countries in imposing sanctions against Russia?
Acer is a company on the world stage, and what they do matters. Taiwan absolutely, as a country, sees, and the rest of the world sees, that Taiwan potentially faces an upcoming invasion of its own. And the idea of being from Taiwan and not doing everything you can to help someone in a similar position. I mean, it runs completely against the Taiwan brand. You look at the earthquake assistance, you look at the masks, you look at everything that Taiwan has done to help the rest of the world, and then you have Acer running contrary to that, and it's embarrassing.
What is your assessment of Acer's actions from a legal compliance perspective?
The scary thing about the Acer situation is the failure to follow in the spirit of the law. Technically, they're legal, but in using a Swiss subsidiary that in order to funnel equipment to the Russians, legal doesn't always mean the right thing, and you want to see companies doing the right thing.
Why is banning tech products critical to sanctions against Russia?
It reduces the loss in life. It allows, potentially for the war to end much more quickly and successfully for the Ukrainians. Technology products are a weak spot for the militaries of the world right now. One of the things in terms of the effectiveness is that the reports coming back from the front lines was that the Russians were pulling apart refrigerators and other household appliances to get chips that they could jury-rig in order to make their vehicles work.
That was John Eastwood, a Taipei-based lawyer and expert in corporate compliance, speaking with TaiwanPlus reporter Joyce Zeng. Coming up, years after a tragic helicopter crash, a groundbreaking documentary series returns to the screens. Stay tuned.
At a time when the world feels more divided, a platform for diverse voices to come together. I'm Divi Gopalan. Join the dots. Be part of the conversation. Connected where opinions matter.
For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, please download the TaiwanPlus app.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. In Taiwan, a petition calling for a 4-day work week has garnered enough signatures to demand a government response. But as James Chater reports, challenges to implementing the policy remain.
This petition on a public policy website calls for a 4-day work week in Taiwan. As more than 5,000 people have now signed it, the government has to discuss a proposal. Taiwan's Labour Ministry said there's a strong case for it, but that a 3-day weekend could worsen labour shortages and increase pressure on other public services.
包括从教育面，那学生的这个上课时数如果集中，那要不就是一天上的时间长，要不然的话就是寒暑假可能都要减少。
Taiwanese have long endured lengthy work hours. Many put that down to the legacy of Taiwan's industrialization. In the 1970s, labour-intensive manufacturing made the country rich. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, many around the world, including here in Taiwan, have questioned their work-life balance. No country has yet implemented a 4-day working week, but calls for shorter working hours are growing louder. This year, the UK conducted the world's largest trial of a 4-day work week, and it's yielded positive results. Among more than 3,000 employees, 71% said they felt less burnt out. From around 60 participating companies, 92% said they would continue with a shorter work week after the trial. 30% made the change permanent. The US mandated a 2-day weekend in 1940, but it was more than 60 years later that Taiwanese government employees could enjoy the same privilege. Unions say protecting that basic right first should be the priority.
现在周休2日的落实程度就已经不理想了啊，所以我们应该是先把这个周休2日落实之后，然后再来看说，是不是可以鼓励一些企业，他们可以去实验这样的一个方式。
More countries are now experimenting with a 4-day work week, but despite the petition, Taiwan is still away from putting it into practice. Patrick Chen and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
Many homeless people in Taiwan don't get the medical care they need. Our reporter Sandy Chi meets a doctor who dedicates his time and effort to helping these underprivileged people.
Speaking to a patient to understand her health issues. This is not a regular doctor appointment. It's one for some special individuals in Taipei. This is Dr. Zheng Shenyun, a psychiatrist from Taipei City Hospital. Since 2019, he has been providing medical services to homeless people at shelters and on the streets. He says that 90% of unhoused people in Taiwan face mental health issues.
无家者最容易患的 psychosis 精神病就是思觉失调症，他们得到这个病才会导致他们流落街头。
Over the past 3 years, Dr. Jun has treated around 160 homeless people. He says most of his patients have some form of mental illness and fall into 3 general categories. He says about 20% had a tough life and ended up on the streets. 40% may have had a good life, but eventually became addicted to drugs and gambling. And 25% have serious mental disorders. They may hear voices, which led to them leaving home. The remainder fall into multiple categories. Today, Dr. Jun is at a homeless shelter in New Taipei City visiting some patients. This is Mr. Chen, who is almost 40 years old. He has been receiving medical treatment from Dr. Jun for several months. Social workers at the shelter see the change professional help has made in him.
其实他进来的时候，其实也是情绪不是很稳定，那就会不定期去买一些防身的器具，譬如说空气手枪或者是甩棍之类的器具。正胜医师的精神科的医疗的服务进来之后，其实他病况变得很稳定。
Getting psychiatric care can help some unhoused people turn their lives around. 44% of Dr. Jung's patients have managed to get off the streets after getting treatment. However, that's just a small fraction of Taiwan's 3,000 homeless people.
第一线的这个工作人员都是社工啦，对，那其实社工是非常有爱心的一群人，但是他们其实这个对疾病的掌握度当然没有比医生好。我觉得医生的价值就是在于，我们除了精神的评估之外，我们也会去评估他们的生理状态。
Dr. Jung hopes more hospitals and doctors can join the project, giving more attention and help for these underprivileged individuals. Ricky and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Honduran President Xiomara Castro is reportedly set to meet with Chinese leader Xi Jinping in China. They're expected to discuss future ties between the two countries. China's state media is reporting Castro arrived in Shanghai on Friday for a 6-day visit. Her trip comes after Honduras ended its 8-decade-long alliance with Taiwan in March. In the lead-up to Honduras' 2021 presidential elections, Castro campaigned on a platform to abandon relations with Taipei in favor of Beijing. China claims Taiwan as part of its territory and does not allow other countries to maintain ties with Beijing and Taipei at the same time. The last British governor of Hong Kong says the territory's fate should be a warning to Taiwan. Chris Patten served from 1992 to 1997 when Hong Kong was returned to Chinese rule. Speaking remotely at an event about his new memories, the Hong Kong Diaries, Patten talked about his efforts to strengthen the territory's democratic systems. He also spoke about how China has increased authoritarian controls on Hong Kong. That's despite promises of 5 decades of self-rule under its one country, two systems framework. He says that framework was designed for use in Taiwan and warns people to be wary of the same thing happening here.
And people in Taiwan can see what has happened to that promise in relation to Hong Kong. And that inevitably, I would guess, will have implications for people's attitudes to Taiwan. How couldn't it have?
Taiwan's annual Ming'an drills are now underway on the country's east coast. For the first time, the focus is on how to prepare for both combat scenarios and natural disaster relief. Sam Robbins takes a look at the updated exercises.
Civilians and the military working together. These are the Ming'an drills, which are taking place in eastern Taiwan's Hualien County. The point of the exercises is to make sure that the people here are ready to deal with multiple types of disasters. But despite the seriousness of the issue, the mood here is cheerful. These drills have taken place every year since 2015. They focus on civil preparedness for disaster relief, usually meaning natural disasters. But with China increasing its military pressure against Taiwan, this year is the first time the exercises also include preparation for a potential conflict. Even on Taiwan's east coast, away from the front line of a potential invasion from China, being ready to fight and defend the country is becoming more urgent. The director of the drills explained the change in strategy.
因为在战时，国军于第一线作战，是没有任何的兵力能量可以来支援战争所导致的各种灾害，所以地方政府呢，必须运用辖内相关的民力、物力、能量来自救。
Natural disasters are not uncommon in Hualien. The region experiences frequent typhoons and floods. A magnitude 6.9 earthquake also hit neighboring Taidong County last September. But Hualien is also an important location for Taiwan's defense. It's home to the Jiashan Air Force Base, one of the largest military bases in the country. And because it's far from the west coast and surrounded by mountains, it's also one of the most well-defended bases in Taiwan. This year's drills also include a simulation of an attack on Hualien Harbor, which Commander Chen Jianyi says is crucial for Taiwan's military.
花莲港其实是我们一个重要的防护目标，那本身也是我们国军在应援的一个关键的设施。
These will be some of the last drills to take place in Hualien this year. They're also leading up to the Hanguang exercises, the country's largest war games, due to start in July. These trainings demonstrate how Taiwan is working to prepare its citizens for any challenge, including the possibility of war. Kama Xu and Sam Robbins for TaiwanPlus.
Countries are racing to prepare for extreme weather patterns later this year as the world enters an El Nino phase.
2024, I think, is a year that if you're looking for a potential global record in terms of temperatures in El Nino with the continued warming since the 2016 El Nino, could lead to 2024 being one for the record books.
El Nino is a natural weather event which sees a rise in ocean surface temperatures. U.S. scientists say this has now begun in the Pacific Ocean and will add heat to an already warming planet. Combined with record ocean temperatures, El Nino could also supercharge extreme weather events like droughts, floods, and cyclones. Analysts say it could lead to global economic losses in the trillions of U.S. dollars. The event will likely last until next spring when its impact will start to recede. Not many people in Taiwan get to see Taiwan from the sky, but director Qi Boling allowed ordinary people to do just that in his landmark documentary, Beyond Beauty, Taiwan from Above. Now, 6 years after Qi's death, a third installment of the film has been announced. Sally Ensign has more.
Heart-stopping mountains, crashing oceans, dramatic cliffs. Taiwan looks completely different when seen from above. 10 years ago, director Qi Boling made waves when he showcased this natural beauty in his landmark documentary, Beyond Beauty, Taiwan from Above. Now, the third installment has been announced. It will be directed by Mai Zheming, who will base himself on Taiwan's snow-capped peaks.
雪山是我们台湾第二高峰，泰雅族的圣山之外，它是我们台湾几条重要的溪流的发源地，大概有1300万人都喝来自雪山的水。
Chronicling Taiwan's ecological degradation from helicopter, Qi Boling is hailed as a hero for the environmental cause. He died in a fatal helicopter crash in 2017 while shooting the film's second installment. A foundation was set up in his name to continue his legacy.
我们是不是在无形当中又在一步一步地摧残了我们这一块土地？这个都是我们需要很深刻的去检讨。
Beyond Beauty Taiwan from Above 3 is set to be released in 2024. It's hoped that it will continue Chibolin's work, using his unique perspective from the skies to encourage everyone to protect Taiwan's natural beauty. Andy Scher and Sally Jensen for TaiwanPlus.
A total of 438 bluefin tuna were brought to a fishing harbor in southern Taiwan in a single day, setting a new record. This has been a bumper year for bluefin tuna at Donggang Fishing Port. More than 4,000 catches are expected this season, which will end soon. With more fish coming in, the average auction price has also dropped.
交易量大概总共是411尾哈，那目前已经是我们近10年来单日成交量最高的尾数了。比较好的大概1公斤是成交是450，那比较最低的大概是110左右。
It's summertime, a time when green sea turtles flock to Taiwan's beaches to breed. The turtles usually nest along Taiwan's coastline from May to September. But this year, a female turtle turned up on the island of Xiaoliuqiu off southern Taiwan in February, the earliest breeding mother ever recorded here. The turtle has come ashore 6 more times since then, leaving behind more than 100 eggs on each visit. And her first batches of tiny babies have just hatched. Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. I'm Leslie Liao. Take care and see you next time.